Alright, so I have never recorded a tutorial before, so this is going to be I'm gonna try to make this quick, because I'm guessing if you are watching this video, it is probably because you have never used either this material or any material at all. And if that's the case, then it's my job to show you how to do it. So I'm just going to start from absolute zero. I'm just going to make a completely empty project. I imagine some of you might already have a landscape actor, or like you already have a map, and you want to apply this material to your already existing project, in which case it should just be the exact same. There are many cases in which people just skip over very like small details, and they run into issues which are fully avoidable. So I'm just going to delete this. Okay, first of all, I have my project. Now that I have my project, I'm going to close it. Then when you're adding in assets from like someone else, do not have your project open at the same time. It's going to lead to either validation issues or file path issues. Not always, but that seems to be a pattern that I've noticed. So I'm just going to do it while the project is closed. You don't need to close UEFM, by the way. You just need to close your project, which you can do by going here. So I have my SOMNi folder, and I'm just going to take it into my project folder. You can usually find this in documents. In my case, I have to go to my OneDrive folder, even though I'm not using OneDrive because some weird issues. But as you can see, here is my folder, and you want to go into content specifically, and that's it. You don't want to do anything else. You can't move this out of this folder. You can't like put it here. That's going to break it. Leave this here. If you want to move this later, do it from inside UEFN. Do not do it while in File Explorer, because that's going to break it. So now that I did that, I can open the project again, and I'm here. So the way I check if everything is correct is simply by going here, opening the master material, and as you can see, there's no errors, and it's previewing properly, so it has compiled. There's nothing wrong with it. So when using this material, I strongly recommend using this instance, but there's gonna be your master instance. So for example, I'm gonna change the name of this to SOMNi master. You can see it's almost the same name as this one, but it's material instance as a prefix. So I'm going to instance off of that, and this is going to be my material. So let's name this, I don't know, grassland. This is gonna be for grassland biome. So we make a new landscape. In my case, for the purposes of this video, I will be importing directly from the reload height maps. I need to show you how to set up biomasking and VST, so those two will become worthless if I had to paint it myself. Very important, you want to set up your material here. Okay, you want to make sure you're putting in your material here, because if you don't, you're gonna have to, you're not gonna see your layers. Now there is a way to fix this, so I'm not going to do it, so I can show you how to fix it. But you should definitely do it like this. Please don't do what I'm about to do. Just put your material in there. I'm going to change the scale for this specific instance, because I know not everyone is going to have a completely default, like the default scale. That's gonna matter ahead, so keep that in mind. So this is just the reload height map, and as you can see, we have not applied our material to it yet. So let's do that real quick with this SOMNi grassland. There we go. So here's the first issue you might run into. If I come to the paints, as you can see, these paints don't do anything. Like they don't even show any preview. That's because we created this landscape actor using another material. We haven't added the paints that this material uses. Essentially, we need to delete all of these and add the ones that this material uses. Now you could do this manually, but don't do that. Just delete these. And then you want to click on this little icon. Create layers from assigned materials. Now this is going to go through the whole parent material, and it's going to check for every layer that is named in it. If I click on it, there we go. I have all my layers. Now, as you can see, I actually have my layers. Now I still can't paint. Why is that? I need to add layer info. Do this. And now I can paint. Oh, sorry. And now I can paint. Now I will recommend making a new layer. I'm calling it paints. Let's call it base paints, just for organization. Congratulations, you have your materials now working. Now you can see there's a slight issue. My landscape has a weird square on it. What is this? This is the biome mask. The biome mask defines the color of many layers. Many layers. In this case, it's most noticeable with the grass because it's the only layer we have painted. Now, the reason this happens is because the way a biomask works is that we are just projecting a texture onto world space. So think of it as, I actually have Photoshop open, so I can show you how to ignore this for a second. This is our biomask, okay? Ignore the contents of it, just think of the biomask as a square texture. And what's behind us is our world, or level. Now we're watching this from above, so in reality we're seeing it like this. This is how we're looking at it. What we need to do is align this with our landscape actor. So we need to make sure that it will fit properly in it, you know? So the thing is, this is really easy to do in most cases. There are some cases in which it is not. First of all, let's align our biomass. So to do that, you want to open, not this one actually, don't open this one. Because remember, we're going to be instancing off of this one over here. We are always going to make instances off of this. So what you want to do is directly change the first instance, which is the parent material of the ones you just made. We need to mess with these values. Now, I'm going to assume that we are dealing with the best case scenario where your landscape pivot actor, which is this little thing, this little dot you can find, this gizmo, is actually aligned with your landscape. So if I come over here, yep, that's perfectly aligned. Now there is, unfortunately, the possibility that yours is not. And I'm going to show you what to do in that scenario after I deal with this. So, since we know our gizmo is properly aligned with our landscape, we need to get the position of it. Why do we need to get the position? Because when we're moving this around, we have an anchor with the texture. So imagine this little thing here is our gizmo. This whole rectangle is dependent on where this little circle is. That's what determines where it's being projected from. We're not moving the rectangle, we're moving the circle, and the rectangle moves with it. So we know that our landscape actors starts here. So we're going to copy these values. Now yours might not be the same, but as you can see, this is X and this is X. So we just put this in, and then this is Y. So since this says Y, we just put it in there. Okay, I think we might be on the right track. Give me 1 second. There we go. You might have to make one of these values negative or the other one positive. I mean, in my case, I had to make them both positive for it to actually align. As you can see, if I move this now, oh, I moved it too much. If I move this now, you can see that, yeah, the corner is precisely where I want it to be, which is up there. We just need to increase the size at which it is being projected. Now, to do that, all we have to do is look at our overall landscape resolution. In my case, it is 1271. Subtract 1 from that value and multiply that by your landscape scale. So in my case, it's going to be this times 116. And there you go. It is now perfectly aligned. How can we make sure that it's perfectly aligned? You're going to see this edge around your actor. This is like where it darkens. This is because it's blending into the outer color of it. So that's good. That means you have properly aligned your biomask. I would always recommend leaving this value to 0 because, as you can see, I didn't have to touch it at all and it's perfectly aligned already. But you can use it if you want to. I don't know why you would, but you know, you never know what scenario you might be dealing with. Also, very important for this, use your landscape scale. It might be 100 for you. If I had used 100, it would have looked like this. That's not right. You need to do it times your landscape scale. Don't look at this value. This value is the vertical axis. We don't care about it. We care about horizontally, how big it is. Remember, we're projecting from top down. So we do it 160. Perfect. I'm going to add some paints in here just for demonstration purposes. Excellent. I have my paints now. This is just for showcase purposes. I'm going to show you how to make your own biomask. But before that, I need to tell you something important. We just set up our biomask in Oh no, my bad. No, this one. We set up here is where we set up our biomask. Now, I'm gonna show you something which can happen if I give me a second. If I apply this biomask, ignore, don't worry about it. Just focus on what I'm going to show you. I just added a different biomask. Now, a lot of things are changing right now. But what I want you to focus on is, my foliage doesn't match my biomask. Some of you might already be familiar with this, but I've gotten questions about it before, and it's better to always assume that it isn't obvious. What is happening here is that our landscape material is a material of its own. Our grass blades material is also a material of its own. So it's not inheriting the values from the landscape. Now, there are two ways you could go about this, and I'm going to show you my preferred way because I think it is better practice overall. You could directly find the grass blades material and shift right click, shift left click, and now suddenly it is fine. Now suddenly it is getting the colors from there. Don't do that. Wholeheartedly, I don't recommend it. What I'm going to show you how to do is a little bit more advanced, but don't let it scare you. The material graph is not scary. You don't even need to go in there. Just go to Biome functions. We're going to find 3 of these here. So if you look closely, this node over here is actually the one we modified here. This one, to be precise. As you can see, it says landscape world UV found in SOMNi landscape tutorial, SOMNi landscape B3, C biome functions, MF Apollo terrain chords, which is this function. What we could do is change this value directly, so we don't have to change it for every material. So what you're going to do is shift right click, or you can also use right click and copy like that. I like doing shift because it's quicker. Shift right click, and then over here shift left click. And now this is going to be our universal terrain coordinate value. So all of the foliage actors and all of the materials are now aligned with our biomask. However, we have not changed our texture yet. To change our texture, we need to go to Apollo terrain masks. In Apollo terrain masks, we're gonna find very quickly that this is this, our biome texture. So we just right click, like shift right click, and then shift left click, save. And now, having modified both of these material functions from inside of them instead of from an instance, they're universally applied to every material using them. My flowers now have the proper biome color, my grass blades have the proper biome color, and every other asset I could possibly make is going to have the proper foliage color. For example, let's do something quick. If I bring in a modular terrain piece like this one, and I go to data assets and find the one for meshes, which is this one, and apply it, it has the proper biome color. And I've never even touched this material because I changed the functions that directly influence it. This is very useful, saves a lot of time, and it's just better practice overall than directly like going material by material, changing the values. Just do this, okay? It's going to save you a lot of time. Don't mind my clip not going wet here. I may or may not have forgotten to add that. I need to show you how to make your own biomass, because while this is very nice, it isn't mine. This is the biomass from, I believe, season 4 of chapter 3 of From Paradise. So it is very, very like different from what I might want to do myself from my own landscape. The way I can change this is by opening this file you're gonna find with the zip, with the download. Now don't be scared, you don't need Photoshop for this. You can just open Firefox, go to Photopea. They changed it, okay. And just you can just do this, and you can just use it the same. So you don't need to use Photoshop. I am going to don't worry about that. I am going to be using Photoshop because I have it and it's more convenient to me. And now let's give this a quick read, okay? So we have 2 main quadrants we care about. The bottom left is for the grass color. This is the color of the grass. If I open, I should have this open. Yes. If I open this texture, as you can see, it has the grass colors. If I look at this from above, and I'm going to very quickly get rid of the sand, you see them, right? You see the colors. This is actually, I think the purple is on the top. Yes. So this is for the desert. This is for the like autumn biome, which we can find here. This is for the taiga, the mountain biome, which we can see here. And this is for the tropical like jungle biome they had, like where sanctuary was. Just to be clear, yes, the grass uses this. Now, you don't need to use only these colors. The grass can be literally whatever color you want. For example, I'm going to show you. If I go in this and I look up green, you're gonna find this option which says is grass green by default. What this means is the colors from our biomask are being taken and then divided by an average color, which is this one. If I move this around, you can see the colors change dramatically depending on how strong my color is. All of these colors in the texture are going to be divided by this average color. So we can make that color be grayscale by simply going back here and disabling this. The biomask is now going to directly take colors from... Sorry, the material is now going to directly take colors from the biomask. If you want to change this at the root, you want to find common grass. I'm not going to do that because it's going to take a bit, but you will want to do that because, as you can see, my translates are not matching the color again. But as you can see now, the colors are like the exact ones in the biomass texture, which is this one for the 3 desert grass color. Now it looks like painted bulbs. So let's bring it back to normal, but that's just an option you have if you want to have more liberties with your colors. If you feel frustrated by not being able to get a color right, I recommend just turning it on. It's nicer. It's gonna save you a lot of headaches if you're going with like crazy wacky colors. How do we make our own biomask? Now, first of all, before doing any of this, you wanna go into perspective and then go unlit and just take a screenshot. Now, if for you this doesn't work and it looks like tremendously wacky and like it's tweaking out, that has happened to me. Just use the minimap capture device or whatever other method. But do not go into perspective and look directly down. That's not going to work. Okay, you need to either use a minimap capture device or this. Just going into perspective top. So this screenshot over here is what we're going to use for referencing where our biomask goes. I'm going to turn off this biomask. Oh, not like that. Do not do that. Do not do that. Speed biomes. You also can just disable this, by the way. You don't need to overwrite these values anymore. With the screenshot you just took, you wanna put that into Photopea, Photoshop, whatever you're using, and crop it. Find the bounds of your terrain. That seems very precise. I'm going to do this. And now I have my isolated map, my landscape. In here, I'm going to paste this, and I'm going to put it right there. Excellent. And now, this might vary depending on your own experience on where you have your landscape. Do what I'm going to do, where I'm just going to throw an arrow pointing upwards, and then I'm going to export this. And in here, I'm going to grab this and re-import with a new file, which is going to be my own. Okay, now I should have a very big arrow. I'll remember to apply changes, by the way. Always make sure to apply changes. I'm gonna, yeah, I have an arrow now. Now, why did I do this? Because, as you can see, my arrow here is pointing upwards. But here, it's pointing to the right. So, you just want to make sure you get this right. As you can see, my arrow here in the landscape actor is pointing towards the right. Now, look at the orientation of the landscape. See where the arrow is coming out from? We need to make that match in here. So it is coming through this side, where we have like this little shape here, and then I just find this here, which is the same, yes. Do it like that. And now, if I re-export, and now that I have done this, I can properly paint wherever I want. So, for example, let's say I want this part to be fully red. Please don't mind the painting right now. This is just for example, okay? Do not paint your biomasks like this, please. Make them softer. I mean, unless it's what you want. I'm no one to tell you how to use the material. Wait! Don't do what I'm doing. Always hide this layer when you're going to export. Otherwise, it's going to look very wrong. So we just export the raw colors. We don't want anything else in there. And there we go. I have made the same region that I'm seeing here red. So this is how you go about painting grass colors. Let's get to something slightly more, a little bit less intuitive, which is the gravel. Now, if you were paying attention, you may have noticed that before, when I switched to the biomask for chapter 3, you're going to see that some other layers change apart from the grass. Look at the gravel, okay? Look at the or the mud, the gravel or the mud. They both use biome colors. See this? They very clearly are different colors. If I go over here, we have the same situation. There's a different color. So they change depending on the biome they're on. Now, very important, we are not using the grass quadrant for that. We need to use this one. This is where layers like dirt and sand and mud and tree and the cliffs and probably and the forest paint and probably another one that I forgot use. This is where they get their what color they're supposed to be from. Let me hide this. As you can see, it's completely black right now. But if I add a fill layer that's fully white, and then I make it only affect the red channel, and then I invert the mask so I can paint whatever I want. Let's make it all red in this case, okay? Let's just make it all red. Make sure to create that lippy mask so it doesn't go outside of that. Let me export this. And now I'm going to re-import my texture, which is this one. Place it, and I re-import. Now I want you to look at the gravel. Okay, this is the default gravel color. This is what the gravel is usually. Look at that. It's darker now. It's really dark, actually. Now, why is it so dark? Because if we enable this little thing I have here, we know that the red channel is used for the taiga. This goes by channel. It does not go by direct color picker. It's not like the grass, where if you paint orange, the grass is going to be orange. Here it's using direct like color channels as masks. You can't just use some random color. Now let's say I don't want the taiga to have such a dark color, because I'm not doing a taiga. You can change it by going here. Now this is going to look scary, but it really is not. This is not that bad. Focus on these, okay? All of these are the colors used for each biome. And how do you know what biome is which? By looking at this. Mountain, tropical, desert, etc. I'm going to go with the gravel. I recommend changing this from here, because it's going to be more intuitive. So we just look up gravel, scroll down, we found all the colors for the gravel. I'm going to do it with mountain because that's the one I'm dealing with, taiga. If I mess with this, you can see it changes colors now. I don't know why the mod is not... Oh, because the mod uses its own biome colors. That's my bad. If I look up mod, you can see it has its own biome colors for itself. So I guess you can have you can have two gravel layers if you get creative. This is dividing the color, okay? So the darker I make this, sorry, the lighter, like the higher these values go. Look how I'm typing directly. I typed 4. I didn't. I'm going to show you what you might stumble into. You might try like going like lower like this, higher than. Do not do that. Just type them manually, okay? Just type them like this. And you can see that it gets darker. If I make it 3 for all of them, it gets darker. And just like this, I can keep making it darker and darker and darker. Darker, darker, darker. Okay. 0.5. It's lighter now. And as you were seeing, if we mess with these alone, we can get different colors. If I increase the red and green channel, the only one missing is blue, so blue is more prominent here. I don't recommend going towards very saturated colors. Keep them somewhat rounded, unless you're going to make every other asset in your map have more saturated colors, because then it is consistent. But if I make this like that, it looks awful. Like it does not mesh at all well with the grass. You need to make sure you're creating very cohesive environments with your colors, because otherwise it can get out of hand and very like noisy quickly. Now let's say I want my grass to just be like brownish, so I think I will mess with the red. Yeah, so I want it more brown like that. That's pretty good. I like that. So what I have to do is shift, right click, stop looking at this, we don't care anymore, we're back to the default, and we go to biome colors, and in mountain gravel we just paste in our value that we like, and then we save. And now this is going to apply universally to all layers. Now you also don't have to paint like this. You're gonna also just make a fill layer, which I recommend you make a fill layer, because then it's easier for you to change the color. So let me hide this. Let me show this. I mean, get solid color. Let me get this one over here. Move it upwards. Invert the mask. And now paint. And you can always make it whatever you want. So that's the basics of the biomask. This is how you make your own. Just make a capture of your landscape and then move it around. You know. I need to put this upwards. Like this. And if you want dirt somewhere, just and then I'm going to make a smiley face like that. Just hide your references always. Here I'm also going to make a smiley face because I feel like it. So this color over here. And then re-import. There it is. Look at it. And you can see the gravel also. Actually, let's just... Yeah, let's just see the other smiley face if I do this. Look how much darker my mountain gravel is. That's not mud. This is what mud is. That's mud. And then below is gravel. So you can get away with pretty crazy colors. This is just for the biomask, though. We still need to go over how VST works. It's part 2. Now we're back here in our landscape. You can see my smiley face biomask that we made. The other SOMNi member is here now, which is gonna make us company in this second part.
You just outed me.
Yeah, I did just out you. So what we're going to do now is set up BST. Before that, though, I foresee a possible situation you might encounter yourself when trying to do either biomasks or BST. And that is, what happens if my landscape pivot point is not aligned with my landscape actor? Now, let's go back to top-down view. Zoom out. In my case, since I just made my landscape actor, it is perfectly aligned with it. But I know you might be in a situation where you deleted proxies after making your biomask, after making your landscape. So in my case, I'm going to like imitate what could possibly happen to you, which is deleting these. My landscape like pivot point is still over. Oh, my landscape pivot point is still over here, but my landscape starts here now, and my biomask isn't centered anymore because it's still being projected starting here. Now, how do you fix this? I recommend, this is going to seem kind of a dumb fix, but this has generally worked for everyone I recommended this. Put down a cube, make the scale ridiculously small. In my case, I'm doing 0.01, and then just align it very precisely with your landscape actor. It doesn't have to be like absolutely pixel perfect, but it will be nice if you can get it to be. I will be surprised. Now, grab these values. Let's run them up because we don't need to be that redundant. I'm going to grab this one because why not? And go to your instance. No, not this one. The master instance, which is this one. And change this to reflect your new pivot point. Now, make them positive. In my case, I'm making them positive. And now, I'm once again projecting from the right spot. But my landscape is still the same size. Like my biomask is being projected a larger size than my landscape it actually is. So, go to your landscape parent actor. Look at your scale, at your overall resolution, and do that value minus 1 times your landscape scale, in which, in my case, it is 116. Do that, and now if I did it right, yeah, you can see the way I'm able to tell if I did it right or not is because when I get close, I see these darkened like corners, darkened edges around my landscape. That means the projection is ending right there. That's where it stops. So I centered it now. Do this if your landscape actually looks like this, where your pivot point is far off from where your landscape actually is. Please don't move it like that. Try to keep it on the same coordinates on both. Let's do BST. In my case, I already have. Let's say hypothetically I finish my map and these are all my paints. Why do we do this at the end? In UEFN we don't have real-time virtual texturing, so we just have to fake it at the very end when we already know where all the paints are and we already know like what the diffuse of the landscape is. What do I mean by the diffuse of the landscape? I mean this. This is the diffuse of on landscape. If I hide the meshes, this is what we're gonna project onto the grass plates in this case. So what you want to do is go to landscape mode, go to paints, and find your paints, obviously, and just the layers you need are very easy to see if you just go to the grass plates material and you look up BST. You enable it. You can add the spree layer if you want, but that's more expensive, and I don't know if you want your grass plates to go into the texture of the spree. You might want to if you're using a custom spree texture, in which case then yeah, I understand. But just to make sure, you need to manually enable that. By default, it's not going to show up. In my case, I have forest, gravel, mud, sand, snow. So let's paint those. I'm only missing the snow, I believe. So let me add object data for the snow. Let's just paint it very softly. You should have this if you want to paint it like me. Why is it not? Oh, because I didn't select it. Okay, that is not soft at all. Don't worry about it. So I'm going to export all of my layers. Export to file. Make sure you're in export or not in import mode. And then this is very important. Export a single file and export the blended result. Now select mud, gravel, sand, and forest floor. Where is forest floor? There it is. And snow. Again, I think I'm doing it right. Forest, gravel, mud. Yes, these are all the ones we need. Now, I named these like that with T_mud VST. You can name it whatever. This is just for my own convenience. You export these, and you will find that in the download there are already some VST textures over here. The reason I kept these is for your convenience to see what settings you should have on them. This is important because your VST textures might have very unconventional sizes. Now, conveniently, this one doesn't have the proper settings, so I can show you what you actually should do. So, oh, this one doesn't either. Okay, whatever. Set this in padding and resizing to resize to specific resolution, and round this up to the nearest like value that is to the power of 2. In my case, that will be 124. But if your landscape was smaller, let's say my resolution was 600 by 600, in that case, it will be just convenient for me to make it 512 by 512. Why do we do it like that? Because the other alternative is just to stretch the texture to the power of 2, but that's going to make it bigger, and I don't recommend doing that. In my case right now, it didn't make it bigger, but it usually goes straight to 2048 by 2048, and that's not good for performance. Just don't do that. I also recommend you look at these settings, the conversion settings and the texture group settings, because that way they have a higher priority to be loaded in. So I am going to import my gravel. I need to make sure that the settings I apply to this one apply to all of the other ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these textures, go to Asset Actions, and edit in Property Matrix, and then Shift right click on the texture category, and then Shift left click on it. So all of them share the same settings now. And I need to import the one that isn't here already. So what I'm going to do is just I'm going to duplicate this with Ctrl D, and I'm going to name this Sand VST. Re-import with new file. The reason I did it like that is because, oh, I forgot we completely got rid of the sand. Well, that's, oh, whoa, 1 second. Okay, I added back my sand. The reason it looks like this now is because remember that we shrunk our landscape, so when importing it, it shifted with the landscape. So let's just pretend that this is my new desert biome instead of something completely unintentional. Re-import. There we go. We have all of the layers here now. We're going to talk about this texture later, not right now. But this one is important as well, for something that will come up later when trying to blend meshes with the landscape. Okay, now that we have our VST masks, let's check if we can set them up properly. Now you want to go to your materials folder in the landscape folder, obviously, and you want to find the basic grass meshes with DS, the two-sided foliage suffix, DSF. You want to open this, and you just look up VST, because otherwise it's going to be a bunch of parameters. So look up VST, and then enable it. Or it's going to look like this by default, just enable it. And now, before adding in our masks, this is like a biomask. It uses the same projection method. So what we can do is just copy these values. Landscape pivot point, X is this, I don't know what I pasted, X is that, Y is this, and our resolution value is this one that we have already set up for the biomask. Remember, you don't have to overwrite this value. In my case, I need to update my terrain coordinates function. All of the assets referencing this. So let me just check on my grass plates real quick. Yeah, you can see they're working now. Oh, but what you can see is that our VST is not set up. So let's check that out. What VST is going to do is it is going to project the landscape base color onto the grass plates with the exact same blending methods and everything. So I'm going to come here and add in my masks because my coordinates should be set up properly, although we're going to find out soon if they're not. So let's start with gravel, forest. I forgot to export my mud, or did I forget to import it? I think I forgot to import it, so let's just make a duplicate mud VST, re-import with new file, mud. Indeed, I just forgot to import it. And then the snow. Did it work? It did not. So this might be because we set up our coordinates wrong. Let's check on that. Let's make both of these negative now. Oh, there we go. You need to mess with those values. Sometimes you want to make them both positive. Sometimes you want to make them both negative. I have not been able to find a pattern, honestly, but overall, you should always be able to line it up as long as you receive the right values. You shouldn't have to offset them manually. Just follow the math that we did for the biomask, and if you need a quick check on that, you can always just hover over the landscape viewpoint, and it's going to tell you. Oh no, sorry, over the landscape resolution, and it's going to tell you what the formula is. The viewpoint is quite intuitive, I'd say. So as you can see now, our grass plates react to where they are on. They get their color from the layer below them. Now this is very useful for blending layers like this in the chapter 2 style. They relied on this heavily during chapter 2. As you can see, my grass plates are now properly blending with the rest of the landscape, and it looks way smoother. Check this spot out, for example, specifically. I'm going to turn off VST. It makes a tremendous difference. By default, VST is disabled on low-end platforms, so you don't have to worry about performance concerns like that. It will be fine. Let's see it with sand here. Now, I am going to show you how to do this for static meshes. So let's look up Hermes Cliff. I just want some modular terrain. There's one I really like. This one. I like this one. So let's set this up in the grass biome for now. I'm going to set up the proper data asset, which you can find here. SOMNi mesh default. And there we go. I have my mesh. But it is not blending down here. Actually, for the purposes of this, I'm not going to have it on a cliff, and you're going to find out why soon. So here's my here's my mesh. If I want to blend this with the landscape, I need to use VST. So we need to find that material, which is in 4 modular pieces, SOMNi mesh terrain. There are different approaches you can do to this. Remember how for the biomask we directly modified the material functions instead of going material per material to modify the VST values? We can do the same. So we have all of our VST values set up. We have our masks, our pivot point, our resolution. Let's set this up directly in the function instead of going manually material by material, repasting the values. So in here, we're gonna go to SOMNi VST and ignore all of this. What you want to focus on for right now is the masks. So for the gravel mask, we're gonna use this for reference. So we have gravel, and we click on it, and then we paste. There are many more layers here, as you can see. Most of these are disabled. As you can see here, there's a lot of disabled layers. And why is this? It's for performance, because it will be quite expensive for us to load every single landscape layer. I'm just doing the essentials for now. You can manually come in here and add more. If you want to add asphalt, for example, you can add asphalt. All you need to do is reconnect this here and reconnect this here, and then it's going to show up again. But I don't recommend it because it's very, like, you're going to be using too many textures and it's going to be quite expensive to render. So do it at your own risk, but by default, it should be fine. It should be safe. We can find our landscape pivot point parameter here, so let's just copy that. And our landscape resolution. Now this is going to apply globally to every single material using VST. So all we should do is go into SOMNi mesh terrain, look up VST, enable use VST. And first of all, you should notice that if I move this, it is grabbing the colors from the landscape below. But it's not affecting the cliff part of the mesh. That is a switch of its own that you might have seen already. If we turn this on, you're going to notice this happens. Okay, this is important. I wholeheartedly recommend you do not use distance to nearest surface as the masking method. What does that mean? Distance to nearest surface is the way ambient occlusion works. If you don't know what ambient occlusion is, I think I can show you pretty quickly here. Yes. See these, how it darkens wherever it meets an edge? So that's ambient occlusion. In the case of my mesh, you can see the whole thing turned like this. This happened because it is affecting distance field lighting. You need to turn this off. I'm gonna turn it off. And as you can see, now it properly blends. There is another issue though. There is insane flickering. Why is that happening? That's because of nanite. If you're going to be using nanite, I don't recommend you use distance fields either. If I disallow nanite, you're going to see it's completely fine. But I think most of you are probably going to be using nanite for modular pieces. So how do we fix this? It's actually surprisingly like easy, but you need to follow the proper steps. You need to pay attention to this, because I know many people struggle with this part specifically, and it really is not that complicated. So what we want to do is we want to export the height map of our landscape. So you want to go to export once again, and here in height map file, I'm going to export my height VST. You can name this whatever you want. We're just putting the landscape height map, and then I'm going to import that in here. VST textures, landscape height map. I'm going to check my settings all are right in here. They're not, so resize 124, 124, and also it put an LOD bias on it. It's better if it didn't do that. Now you go to your material for the meshes, and you're going to disable use distance to nearest surface. It is going to break, most likely. Now you need to put in your texture for the height map. Scroll down, and there's a new category here. VST landscape height. So put in your texture. And for the pivot point, you just want to use the same values the VST uses. Solution, which should be here, and then the scale of your landscape in the vertical axis. In most cases, it should be 100, which is the default. But if you change it, you need to mess with that. And now I should be able to check on this if it's working or not. Oh, okay. It was just going too far below the landscape. So mess with this value, because this is moving the mask up and down in world space. you're gonna understand it when I find the sweet spot. See this line? Pay attention when I move the mesh. See how it outlines the landscape? And this is why I don't recommend you use VST on cliff faces, because you will have grass loaded in. There's no way for us to load the cliff layer with VST. We can't use slope masks, so watch out for that. But it is very convenient when having them just in a space like this. Obviously, you probably don't want it to be halfway through your mesh, so move it down a little bit. And if you think that is too harsh, you can increase the blend length. In my case, I'm gonna make it 64. That's way softer. And now my mesh is fully working with VST. It uses no distance fields. With distance to real surface, it doesn't work on some platforms, and it also is currently bugged on rendering mode 2x12 if you have ambient occlusion turned off, and we cannot do anything about that, which is really annoying. So that's why I strongly recommend you just use a height map. I'm going to show you how to set this directly in the material function in case you want to do that, which is in SOMNi VST. It's here. So let's just do it quickly so you can see. This is now going to apply universally to all meshes using VST. Here we go. In my case, actually, I might want to move this upwards so I can stop overriding these values entirely, and I can just directly change it from the wait. Okay, one of the value. Oh, it's the it's the height offset, isn't it? I forgot to override that one. Yeah. So hold on. Actually, that's convenient because I want to make it slightly higher. Okay. I like that. 25. That's better. I can just put this in here now and apply. This value might be different for different meshes. I'm unsure. I haven't messed much with it, but that's just because I don't really use modular pieces in my projects often, but you can figure it out because it's really not that hard to mess with. And this is also very convenient for adding, like, you know, I think you can understand why it's convenient for modular pieces into the grass. You can just paint like this on them. So that's how you set up VST. If you didn't do what happened to me where I removed the landscape proxies on the edge, I hope you didn't follow those steps because it might be not working for you right now. I hope I covered everything. That should be it. But if you're still having issues, first rewatch the tutorial, please. I'm sure there's something you missed. And if you still are having issues, then you can just reach me on Twitter. I guess you can comment here, but YouTube doesn't really notify me, so if you can just go to Twitter, that'd be nicer for me. That should be everything.
You can talk to me too for fun.
Yeah, you can talk to them for fun on Twitter too. And you can talk to the SOMNi account, which will be talking to us at the same time. I don't recommend it though. Oh, they're different. Goodbye.